Hi guys, good morning everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sai Kiran. Today we are going to discuss about AWS Developer Tools. Right? So guys, we do have multiple services and developer tools, but today we are going to discuss about the important topics. Right? So the very first one is Cloud9. Cloud9 is an IDE, guys. People who are not aware of the IDE, don't worry, guys. IDE is nothing but Visual Studio Code. See, this is IDE, or you can also say Xcode, or you can say PyCharm. All this comes under IDE itself only, correct? So, and then the reason why we are configuring IDE is we are going to clone one repository. We are going to clone one repository from where? From AWS samples. We are going to clone one Java application here, right? So once after doing all the changes, then we are going to push the code to our repository. What was the repository here? Here it is, CodeCommit. So what exactly CodeCommit will do? CodeCommit is something which is like Git alike tool, guys. People who are not aware of Git, do not worry. We are going to deep dive into more with the Git when we are discussing about the DevOps. So for now, once after the developer has done with his part, then what he will do is he will push the code to the repository. Here our repository is CodeCommit, right? And the third one is CodeBuild. So once the developer is done with his part, and once after he pushing the code to the code commit, which is a repository, it's not done, right? It's DevOps engineer or build engineer responsibility to make sure that he's generating the artifacts. What are the artifacts here? Var, jar, and then year. So how we can generate these artifacts? With the help of code build, right? And where we are going to generate store these artifacts, we are going to store it in S3 bucket, right? And then we do have something called code deploy. This is the major task where we are doing all these things. For what? We are going to make sure that we are deploying the application end of the day, right? So for this we are going to use code deploy. And there is a final one which is code pipeline. Here whatever we are doing in cloud9 code commit build and deploy, all we are doing is manual efforts, right? So in order to avoid that, with the code pipeline, what we can do is we can, when configuring code pipeline, we can simply select code commit and then code build and then code deploy. Next time whenever a developer commits something here from the cloud9, automatically code pipeline job will be started. Automatically code pipeline job will be triggered, right? So guys, you might be getting a doubt, Sai, we do have Jenkins here, right? We also do have Jenkins here. We have Maven here, right? In DevOps tools. And then for code repositories we do have Git. Then what is the point of using all these tools? You are 100% right. The reason is, see guys, when you're working in an organization, end of the day, at some point of time, what client will say is, see, we are using AWS infrastructure, right? We are using AWS infrastructure for all the work. Then what is the point of using third party tools? Again, for AWS, Jenkins is third party. For again, for AWS, Maven is third party. Git is also third party. Of course they do follow the better security strategies, but see, that's where the AWS is capturing the market, right? They are not letting people to go out of the AWS. They are creating all the tools whatever they required, right? So in such case, clients will also be majorly looking for cloud native tools to work with, so they can stop going outside and integrating a third party tools with the services which what they're using in the infrastructure. So in such case, we are supposed to stick with the cloud native tools itself only. This is not mandatory, guys. In some organizations they do follow, like, you know, some service based companies I've seen, they are following only these AWS services. They are using more cloud native tools, right? So today we are going to do one project. Let me explain you the project now. This is very important, guys. Watch carefully. If you do have time, I request you to do the practicals, right? So first we are going to configure cloud9 to do all the changes. Cloud9, once the task is done here, task in the sense, once after you have did all the changes, then we are going to push this code to the remote repository. What was the remote repository here? Which is code commit, right? So once this part is done, then you are going to build the artifacts with the help of code build. So once artifacts have been generated, where you're going to store the artifacts? You're going to store it in S3 bucket, right? So once this build part is done, there is something called deploy. Code deploy. You are doing each and everything manually here. So at last, what we are going to do? We are going to configure a code pipeline. We are going to configure a code pipeline. So what it will do next time, from next time, whenever a developer commits here from the Cloud9, automatically code pipeline will trigger the job, right? And again, it will, you don't need to do any manual start and stop here. Automatically code pipeline will be deploying the job, right? So let's go and achieve the task, guys. I hope you understand my prior intro. If you do not understand, please go back and watch it, because this is very important. Now during the time of practicals, we are not going to discuss this again, right? So let me take you to the console now. So here is my console, guys. As discussed, first we are going to install Cloud9. Open in separate tab, create environment, optional, and then scroll down. T2 micro is enough. End of the day, this is also an instance, right? So it will be also running on instance itself only. Platform, Amazon Linux is fine, right? Leave it everything as it is and simply click on create. Meanwhile, what you can do is go to the NAT gateway and create one NAT gateway. So create NAT gateway. Web application, scroll down. I'm going to select my K8s cluster, subnet 1B, okay. Public elastic IP, we required, yes, and then create NAT gateway, right? You can close this, this is not required. Once this part is done, guys, make sure that you are attaching it to your route tables. I'm going to attach it to my route table. Cluster, K8s cluster private 3, okay, routes, edit routes. I'm going to remove this NAT gateway, select it, save changes. Repeat for the other subnets also. Private subnet 2, routes, edit routes, NAT gateway, save changes. What was the last one? Private subnet 1, subnet association, routes, edit routes, NAT gateway, select the NAT, save changes. Right? Everything is fine, right? If I come back to the route tables again, routes, okay, active. So once this is done, make sure that you're logging into your Cloud9. Open, select it and open in Cloud9. You can close this, this is not required now. Also, on the other hand, create one Ubuntu 22 instance. Give the name as Tomcat. We are going to deploy our application here in the Tomcat server. Ubuntu 22, confirm, scroll down, take T2 medium, keep a, I'm going to select latest, K8s cluster, 1B enable security groups, public management server. Guys, don't launch the instance. We have to do something. Once after creating a role to the instance, then we can proceed with the creating instance. Just select all the configurations and leave it as it is. Now go back to the Cloud9 again. This is our IDE. See, now if I do if I have any files here now, I'm going to clone one repository. github.com/aws samples. Here we do have one repository called snakes. Clone it, copy it, come back here, git clone, enter. Yeah, this is the one. can close this. Make sure that you're removing the .git. Why? The reason why we are removing is after this we are going to create one repository. If you are not able to remove this .git, then it will be tough for you to push it, right? So I'm going to remove this. I have to install the git init. Yeah, git init, git status. Okay, nice. Now where I have to push this, I'll show you. Open CodeCommit. Keep it side by side, guys, do not get confused. Create repository. I'm going to give the repository name as web application. Scroll down and simply click on create. Meanwhile, I'll add this added sample files, right? So once this repository has been created, make sure that you are selecting clone https, which means you are copying the link. Copy it. You have to add this to the remote server, right? So for that, what you have to do, git remote add origin, paste it. It has been added successfully. Now I'm going to git push origin master. Nice, our code has been successfully pushed to the repository. If I refresh here, right, I can able to see my code here. Got it? So now once this part is done, open code build. Now we need to generate artifacts with this code build. Open, create project. Project name I'm going to give as web application. Before configuring code build, guys, make sure that you're creating AWS S3 bucket. Open S3, create bucket. Web application S3. Scroll down and simply click on create bucket. Right? Once that is done, then build the configuration again. Web application. So once after giving the name, then scroll down. Guys, make sure that you're selecting the repository. What was our repository here? Our repository is CodeCommit, right? So once after you're selecting the CodeCommit, it will automatically reflect here. Web application is a repository, and what was the branch? Our branch is on master. Correct? Scroll down, leave it everything as it is, provision model environment, and make sure you're selecting the Ubuntu operating system, standard and 5.0 or 7.0, anything is fine, right? Leave the image version as it is. Scroll down and make sure that you're selecting the service role. This will be very useful, guys. I'll show you during the time of deployment. I'll show you like where it has been useful, right? And make sure that you're selecting the appropriate VPC configurations here. Scroll down, select VPC, and then I'll select my KDS cluster VPC, and I'm going to select my private subnets here. See, if you watch here carefully, select the VPC subnets that AWS CodeBuild should use to set up your VPC configuration. Right? For high availability requirements, selecting multiple subnets or multiple applications, ensure your subnet indicates a NAT gateway. So we are going to select the private subnets now. I'm going to select private subnet 2, and then I'm going to select private subnet 1, and then private subnet C. All these three subnets were attached to the NAT gateway. I'm going to give my security groups. So make sure once after you are selecting the subnets, private subnets, click on validate VPC settings. If there is an issue, it will throw the error here. See, no error. It has an internet connection, right? 3 GB is sufficient. It's okay. Don't change any environment variables or file systems. Build spec. This is quite important, guys. I'm going to switch to the editor and I'm going to remove all these. I do have a YAML manifest already. I'm going to give it to you. Build script.sh. Copy it. Come back here and then paste it. Here what we are doing, if you watch carefully, we are installing Java 17, and then commands we are installing git, and then we are installing unzip. We are changing the permissions to our build.sh. Where is our build.sh? It's in our repository. If you watch here carefully, see, we are going to changing the permissions of this, and then we are running it. And once after the build.sh has been generated, it will gives an file, artifact file called root.var, right? And then we are changing the name to app.var, correct? Scroll down. Artifact, I wanted to store it in S3 bucket. What was my bucket name? My bucket name is web application S3. Just now we have created. Scroll down, leave it everything as it is. Path optional, namespace is none, and here name, make sure that you are giving as app.zip, right? The name of the folder or compressed file in the bucket that will contain your output artifacts. I am giving it as app.zip, guys. So scroll down and then select the artifact packaging under zip. Once after the artifact has been stored in the S3 bucket, then you will definitely understand the meaning of this app.zip and then why I am selecting zip here, right? Scroll down. I'm going to unmark the CloudWatch logs, not required for me, and then simply click on create build project. Have I commented this app spec YAML? Yeah. If you watch here carefully, we have commented this app spec YAML. The reason is, I'll show you. The reason is, here is the app spec YAML. What we are saying is, the source, once after the name has been changed from root.var to app.var, we are saying it to copy this artifact in this location, right? So that is the reason why for now I have commented this is not required. This is only required during the time of deployment, not the build. Just now we have configured the build. Now test it whether if it is working appropriately or not. Let's click on start build. It will take some time to start the build. You can watch the details here if you want. See, the build is running. Guys, meanwhile, what we'll do is we'll create two IAM roles. One is for our instance, right? Select create role, scroll down, select EC2 instance. Next, give S3 full access. We are going to select Amazon S3 full access. Why we are selecting? Because we are going to attach this role to our instance now. Why we are attaching? Because our artifacts will be storing in our S3 bucket. Our instance directly will not be having to access the S3 bucket, right? So that is the reason why we are creating one S3 full access. If you watch here carefully, I guess, yeah, see, artifact has been generated. If you watch here, our artifact has been generated. The build should be successful. It is still going, yeah, it's showing as succeeded. So our instance cannot directly access this var file. Instead, that is the reason why we are giving S3 full access. And then you are also supposed to give another service, which is AWS CodeDeploy. Code deploy full access. Next, I'm going to give this as EC2-S3- code deploy. Scroll down and then create role. Now we are going to create one more role. This role is for deployment, not for the instance. I'm going to select code deploy here. Select code deploy. Simply click on next. AWS code deploy role. Next. And then code deploy role. Scroll down and then create role. Once the IAM part is done, you can close the tab, guys. Now there is nothing required with the IAM tab. Come back to your EC2 instance again. Select advanced details. Refresh it. Select the EC2 role. This is the one, EC2 S3 code deploy. This is our role. Select it. Scroll down. Instance 1 and then simply click on launch instance. So I can see my Tomcat server is up. It's still initializing, but it's fine. Let's log into our Tomcat server and do the necessary installations. Connect. I'm going to paste all these in our GitHub repository, guys. Don't worry. Yeah, it's logged in. Sudo su hyphen. Now we are going to install the agent. Okay, this is done. Now I'm going to cd/home ubuntu. Paste it, enter. Okay, nice. Update, check complete, stop update. Okay, now let's run these two agents and we'll see the status. Okay, if you watch here carefully, our agent is active and running, right? Now let's install the Tomcat server. Come back here, sudo apt update, and then apt install jdk. Okay, it's active, up and running, right? So once this part is done, now go back to your Cloud9 and now go back to your Cloud9 and make sure that you are pushing your spec file. What was the spec file? I showed you, right? During the time of build, there is something called spec file. Here it is. It is required during the time of deployment. Now we are supposed to copy. Now we are supposed to push this file to a repository. What was the name? appspec.yaml, right? This is simple, guys. The only thing what we are doing here is we are letting it know that to go and store the artifact app.var in this destination. That's it. Do not worry. Rename, copy it, nano, not yeah, nano appspec.yaml. Enter. Paste this. Copy and paste it. Guys, if you do not understand this video, please put it in the comment section. It's okay. I'll try to delete the video again and then I'll try to do it again with clear understanding. It's okay, no problem. Nano expect YAML. Okay, now git status, git add dot, and then git commit. Added spec file. Git push origin master. Now if you go back to your application, you are supposed to see this. Where is my repository? Here it is. Yeah, here it is. I can see my C appspec.yaml, right? Now go to your code build. We have commented out, right, in the code build, if you remember. If you come back to my, this is my code build, and if I go to the build projects, open it, project details. If I scroll down here, if you watch carefully, I have commented it. Why I have commented it? Because I told you, right, this is mainly used for deployment purpose. Once this artifact has been generated, we are telling it to go and check with the appspec.yaml. So what we have mentioned in appspec.yaml, we are telling it to go and store in the different destination. Right now we are supposed to uncomment this, so that once the artifact has been generated, it will go and store the artifact in a particular location, is what we mentioned. Update. Now again start the build and check whether if it is passing or if it is facing any issues along with the spec file. Meanwhile, I'll go to the instance and I'll check whether the directory has been there or not. Opt tomcat and then web apps. cd/opt tomcat web apps. Yeah, it is there. Now it will store here. Not now. Once after the deploying, it will store, the artifact will be storing here automatically. Let the build runs. Meanwhile, what we shall do is we'll uh, configure the deployment, which is code deploy. It will take some time. Go to the code deployments, select application, guys. First you need to create an application, give the name. I'll give as web application hyphen deploy. Select EC2 on premises, create application. So once this part is done, then make sure that you're creating the deployment groups. Create deployment groups. Deployment group. Scroll down. What was the service role we have created? We have created one service role, right? Code deploy role. Correct? We have two services roles. Okay, no problem. Code deploy role. Yeah, this is the one. Deployment type in place, leave it as it is, and make sure that you're selecting Amazon EC2 instance. Tags, what was the tag we have given? Tomcat server, isn't it? Tomcat server, yeah. This is the tag we have given. Let me see my build is failed or not. Yeah, it's successful. It's successful. We have successfully pushed our code to our repository, and from here we have built the code with the help of CodeBuild, and then here an artifact will be generated, and that artifact will be stored in our EC2 instance under this location opt tomcat web apps. Now in order to store the artifact here, we need to deploy it, right? Let's go and configure the deploy. Name tomcat server, agent configuration with AWS Systems Manager. Here it's no code deploy agent is not required because we have already installed the EC2 instance. If you remember, see here we have. If you watch carefully, see we have already installed the agents. So again, it is not required to install. Deployment settings, okay. Code deploy default. Load balancer was not required. Simply click on create deployment. Come back to your applications, web application, deployment group, deployments. Now create the deployment. What was the deployment group name we have created? Application DP group, right? Select it, and my application is stored on Amazon S3. Now you have to go back to your S3, open your app.zip, and make sure that you're copying the S3. Come back to your deployments and paste it here. Select revision file type .zip, scroll down. Additional deployment behavior, no, don't change anything. Simply click on create deployment. Now let's wait for it, guys. It will start the deployment now. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, deployment has been starting. Fingers crossed. Okay, it's succeeded. Nice. I'm very happy because yesterday whole day this project was taken. Deployment status succeeded. Okay, now I'll go back to my Tomcat server. I'll copy this, paste it here, 8080. This is my Tomcat server. Now if I enter /app, oh I'm sorry, colon 8080/app. See, this is a snake server. This is what we have cloned from the GitHub repository. This is an web application. Right now, let's guys will do the final thing, which was CodePipeline. I hope you are understanding. Open CodePipeline. I'll create the CodePipeline and I'll do the changes in our Cloud9, and we'll see how our CodePipeline will deploy the trigger automatically. Right? This is our CodePipeline. Create CodePipeline. Name CodePipeline version 2. Execution mode. Ignore this service role. Yeah, this is the one we have given, right? Service role. And then variables. Now simply click on next. Source provider. What was my source provider here? CodeCommit. Repository. What was my branch? Master branch. CloudWatch events recommended. Okay. CodePipeline. Okay. Simply click on next. Here make sure that you're selecting CodeBuild. What was my build name here? Web application build. Scroll down and then click on next. Provider, here it is CodeDeploy. What was my deployment name here? See, we are just giving deployment name, we are just giving build name, and then we are just giving code commit name. That's it. Rest all it will take care of. What was the application name? My application name is web application deploy. deployment group. This is my deployment group, and then simply click on next. Scroll down and then create pipeline. Right, see, for the first time it will do the deployment. Once after completing this, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do the changes in our cloud9. Now only we shall do, and let's not push it until and unless this deployment completes. Until unless this deployment completes, let's not push it, but let's do the changes whatever it is required. Let's type in I'll do it from here directly. Source default.jsp, select this, and I'm going to change the name. What was here? Do you love or hate snakes, or love or hate snakes? Okay, I'll try to put my name there just for the changing purpose. Yeah, this is here. Okay, I saved it. Now I'll close this. cd source cat default.jsp. Here, if you watch carefully, I have changed my name. I just wanted to see whether if it is reflecting or not. Yeah, it's reflecting. So we'll see it will not reflect now here because we have not committed, right? We didn't committed anything. Let's wait for this deployment to complete. Once it is completed, then yeah, it is completed successfully, right? Now just leave it as it is, guys. We'll commit here. Just now we did some changes to the default JSP, right? I'll commit this git status. Okay, git add dot git commit hyphen m, add its icon into default.jsp file, and then git push origin master. Oh, there is an, okay, I had a spelling mistake here. Okay, changes have been pushed successfully. Now let's come back to our, see, it has been started. If you watch here carefully, this building. Got it? So this is how this code pipeline works, guys. This is what I wanted to explain. Guys, if you do have any doubts, please put it in the comment section. If you didn't understand, that is totally fine. Just let me know in the comment section. I'll delete the entire video and then I'll upload it again with the clear picture. I request you to do the practicals if you do have time, and make sure that you're posting it on LinkedIn and Medium also. Right? So tomorrow we are going to meet again with a new session, guys, and have a nice day, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.